Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to an audio only episode. Welcome again to my usual attendees and listeners and viewers and those who are subscribed. Thank you so much for your support. So in this little episode, I'm going to do an audio only, some reflections on everything going on in terms of the UK turmoil, UK civil unrest, all of the sort of ways that you can describe it. You know the deal. And as you know, as always on this channel, putting my biases and comedy or sort of, I guess you'd call it attempted comedy aside, I do my absolute best and probably overdo it to sit on the fence and try and zoom out as much as possible in order to take in all perspectives, not because I'm an apologist or because I'm trying to be contrarian. It's because as a systems thinker and one who is currently studying to professionally be a practitioner in it, I absolutely must practice this sort of consistent zoom out perspective and being able to sort of take it all in order to understand what are all the interdependencies of a situation, any given situation or problem, what are the interrelationships, what is actually going on, what is going on. So this is why I will always be more zoomed out and less inclined to want to sort of take a side or repeat sort of slogans or even propaganda from any side really that makes sense, that could get you lots of likes. Yeah, this isn't the place for that. So welcome after that 2-minute intro. So ooh, and take a deep breath. It's crazy. I need some I need some music with this. I need to go back to my music journalism days and get my turntables out and have some music on in the background when I used to do review shows. There's a great deal of pain going on. The pain that's going on is coming from a legacy of neglect and violence. And when you really take a step back and you consider the legacy of neglect and the legacy of violence, if you view or imagine or visualize that legacy of neglect and legacy of violence as something that does not discriminate, then you can see how it essentially weaves its way through all communities. And it's all the communities that I'm seeing right now who are doing that thing that so many of us on X are saying, and that is don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. It's hard to say that though. And again, let's jump to another perspective. It's hard to hear that and to say that when you have had a family member, someone you know, a neighbor, someone from your community being killed in the most abhorrent, sinister way, and to ask them to not take the bait and to sit down and to cool off and chill out when they feel ignored is insensitive. So then who are we telling? Who are we telling to not take the bait? Instead, we could ask the question, why is it that there has been a legacy of neglect and a legacy of pain? Why is there a legacy of neglect right now? Why is neglect playing out? Because I'm not sure if we've had much being said about those who have lost their lives and those families who are hurting, who are damaged permanently. in this sort of human realm. Okay, so not much is being said. Everything is pretty much taken over. We've got world events that are sort of tinkering on this cliff edge. I don't even know if that makes sense. Tinkering on a cliff edge. They're are they balancing? Are they tiptoeing? Are they doing a jig? It's almost like, ha ha. Well, will we go? Won't we? Will we jump or won't we? And we'll take you with us. It's comedic for them, and it's painful for the rest. And when you begin to sort of see things in this way, and you take a step back, you think, gosh. And then there's all this pain between communities, and you think they don't care. You must realize that the pain of the communities does not care, or is politicized or used for some other gain. And if that's the case, what should we all do? What should people do? And it's so incredibly profound how so many of us are just getting swept up in the emotion of it all. And I'm talking about those of us who are indirectly affected. Indirectly affected. Those of us who are watching and are observing. We are, through scrolling, doom scrolling, we are really resonating with pain, with struggle, with fear. We're really resonating with all of it. And we're talking about it over coffee, in our WhatsApp group chats, wherever you are. And then if you're getting involved, how are you getting involved? How is it helping? So I'm watching, I'm observing, I'm listening to a lot. I'm listening to all sorts, as I tend to. And I find myself posting on X and then deleting it because I feel like I've betrayed my rational and my intuitive mind, the balance between the creative and then the rational mind. And sometimes when I've spoken about it, I've almost likened them to be the same thing. When I talk about the split between the intellect and then the sort of creative mind, I've ended up talking about rational thinking being part of the creative. Actually, you've got the rational, intellectual, critical thinking mind, and then you've got the creative, instinctive, intuitive mind, innovative mind. And we don't allow ourselves to have that balance. It's either one or the other, or neither. And we're just reacting like we have no discipline, like we have no ability to restrain ourselves, to restrain our emotions. And what I'm seeing is a lot of a real lack of restraint, because it's fun to be part of the noise when you're observing it. It's fun to be part of the noise. It gives you something additional to do. You're now doom scrolling, you're constantly watching, you're talking about it, you're part of the debate. Or are you? Or are you part of the noise? Who is the debate for, and where is the debate taking place? It's certainly not taking place on X. That's noise. There's a meeting in a Cobra meeting. What do you call them? Yeah. I don't think they're debating. I think they're talking. When I talk about risk assessment and forecasting and anticipating for reputational management purposes and public relations on my other channel and for my business, um, the same kind of risk assessment and the same kind of forecasting and planning goes into all this kind of stuff. And when there are meetings going on, these sort of so-called Cobra Kai meetings, I'm just going to call it Cobra Kai. Of course they know that there's certain scenarios that could play out, and certain scenarios that perhaps are expected or predicted for some reason. Sorry, got really close to the mic and that pierced my ears, but oh, did it again. I need a shield. My shield is somewhere floating around the place. But yeah, so, Cobra Kai meetings are happening and there's scenario planning and forecasting and all sorts. And then we suddenly get a speech. And the speech doesn't unify. Does it unify? I mean, I think ask the questions. Is it unifying? Is it neutralizing? Is it putting people on notice so that they stop, but also acknowledging their pain? I mean, if you were a leader that wants to calm things down and ask for people to think of their communities and to be kind and to be compassionate and to show restraint, there's a certain way of speaking and there's a certain way of communicating. And we all know what that way would be. So then you ask the question, is that the way that's being communicated? And if it's not, who is it favoring? And is it sincerely favoring the people that we think are being favored? There's lots of theories out there about who's taking over London, who's taking over the country. Are they being favored, or are they instrumental for some plan? Again, when you zoom out, don't get caught up in, oh yes, they really care about us. They really care about us. Because I think when you listen to the commentary and the thoughts and the insight from people who've been doing this for a long time, and they talk about this, the only divide is rich and poor, it really makes sense. The division between the powerful and then the rest of us. And so for us to think that we are seen or considered in any other sort of category or division is a fool's game. It is foolish. Because if we do that, then that's what divides us even more, and then that causes the unrest. Now that we've done a bit of a zoom out, let's go back in. So if we had to get the kids in the playground to behave themselves, we would still need to deal with the incidents. We would still need to deal with the behavior that we're seeing, regardless of whether it's been provoked or not, or whether it's been engineered or not, or whether it's been, incited by powers external to the system, or whatever, whatever the theory is. Regardless, we still have to deal with it. And if it's not being dealt with in an equitable way, if it's not being dealt with in a fair way or just way or a swift way, then you can ask the questions, why on earth isn't it? Is it because that community is an untouchable community, or is it because that it's a perfect way for people to continue to get frustrated and angry? So you can, on the one hand, be viewed and seen as dealing with the situation, and on the other hand, making it absolutely worse. You could be making it worse. And I think that if we, again, instead of getting caught up in, you can't get away with this and blah, 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 and whatever we're listening to and watching, I think when you bring it all the way down to a micro level, you've either got utterly stupid, ridiculous people who just don't have anything better to do, or people who are in increasing amount of pain and who feel nothing but pain because they're not seen, they're not heard, they're not acknowledged. And their existence is that. And when something happens and there's a cause or something for them to latch onto, then they'll do it. They'll do it. And they'll do it without thinking. They won't hesitate because of their experience. And that doesn't mean that we are making excuses. No, it means that we are making way for understanding, so we can understand the problem, so we can do the proper thing as leaders. If you feel you have any kind of leadership qualities or characteristics within you, if you had to lead a community, if you lead a community, if you are somebody who tends to advise, not just try and tell people new information because, oh, you know all the good stuff, but because you're actually hoping to rally people to act in a more appropriate, just, rational way, then as a leader, what you must absolutely do is inform people, inform them about how continuing to react and reacting without thinking, considering, and just jumping on a wagon and causing more upset, more violence, whatever you want to, whatever degree, whether it's through your messages, your posts, or actual actions out there on the street. Like, good leadership can calm down, like can calm everything down and manage it, even if the problem doesn't go away. It can absolutely do that. And the question then is, why isn't it doing that? Because a leader will zoom out. A leader will take in all the perspectives and ensure that all perspectives are seen and heard and acknowledged. But what's not happening, the reason why that doesn't happen is if the leader has an agenda. And then you see those perspectives will then have their infighting, like not infighting, but they will then have their conflict with each other because then there's competition. So the frustrating thing here is now that I hear and watch commentators from within those sort of perspectives who apparently think that they are helping by having the contrary sort of belief, or they are standing out as not being your typical sort of voice from that particular community. But it's just fueling things. It's just inflaming tensions, existing ones already. And what we need right now is a lot of neutralization, like a neutralization, sorry. We need to neutralize, like our efforts need to go into neutralizing and getting people to think rationally, to zoom out and ask the questions. Why has this been allowed to carry on? Why has this been allowed to continue? And if it's not a problem for just now, why has this problem perpetuated for so long? Why has it persisted for so long? These questions must be asked. And who has to ask these questions? We do. We must ask these questions. And we must, as leaders, encourage those who are paying attention to our voices, encourage them to do the same. Because we're all on X or wherever, and we are all reposting, liking, piling on, jumping in to the mess. I've caught myself doing it a couple of times and I've had to delete again. And it's not helping. It's not helping any of us. I've seen a few posts from people who are saying, please just chill out, get back into your sort of communities, and you need to think strategically. This is a critical point. And I don't know how many people are actually going to be heeding that very, very wise advice. So I just hope to add to that wise advice. Keep an eye on the markets. Keep an eye out. Look at what's going on. Like, you've got to zoom out. And listen, even if there's no agenda and it means nothing, just on a simple level, do you want to experience peace and joy? Or the opposite? Pain, fear, violence. So it's your choice, and you have the choice. We all have the choice, and we can make that choice in any sort of given moment. Um, and then we can also pull from the faculties that we have to be rational thinkers, to be the intellectuals with all the information, and to critically think, and also to be the creative innovators. We can be those people, we can be those examples, we can demonstrate it, we can influence, we can inspire in those ways. We just have to make that choice. And even if we feel like no one's listening, then just do it, just embody it, and it will come through. People will sense it, feel it. It's never too late. And there's that whole sort of like ripple effect thing. But we must absolutely also, like I said, come back to the playground. You've still got to resolve, the kids who are playing. You've got to fix that situation, and whoever's been hurt and what has been lost, and the sadness of that, and acknowledge that. You've got to look at not just all the sort of perspectives that are fighting with each other, but the ones that have lost and that are now completely ignored. Completely ignored. You see, we've got all of this sort of terminology being thrown around. Like, you've got the far left and the far right, and then you've got the media, i.e. the establishment. So, and the establishment, you can see, you can argue, will utilize, tokenize, and dip in and dip out of talking points, or a sort of little, in a piecemeal way, from the left or from the right. And what it does is it placates people for a while. It's almost like love bombing you a little bit, and then you go back to, going back to neglecting you and just doing your own thing. That's like, oh man, it's done so perfectly, and it's always done this way. I might do more of these, because I'm not, lately, I've just have not always been in the right frame of mind to jump on camera, because either I'm not set up, or I've just been in the middle of studying or working or parent mode, and I'm like not ready. So I've just been listening to a whole load of stuff, been reading loads, studying loads, working loads, parent mode, and I was just sorting out laundry and bed sheets. And I was like, oh, okay, I've got some thoughts I need to share. I'll just jump on the mic. I was going to do it on my phone. I thought, no, let's just jump on the mic. I don't need to do camera. So, because I'm in pajamas. So I might do this more frequently. At least then I'm not leaving you hanging without anything. And I know that sometimes there's a question like, Serena, you're not saying anything about stuff. There was a comment recently. I think it was a reaction. It was a comment to my reaction to the Lex Friedman, Elon Musk Neuralink episode. Okay, and they said something like, "Yeah, reacting to or watching someone else's content, pulling faces just for ad revenue, you're really doing great stuff, like, for the world." I'm paraphrasing. And I was like, oh my God, this dude is so right. That's exactly what I did. Like, and that was pants. That was lousy. And I was like, thank you for your support. Just responded with thank you for your support. And the thing is, those lives that I do, they're mostly to connect with you and for us to have a chat. And I'd be quite happy if it was just like a private Zoom, but I don't know how to do that. How to do a live where you all join and then it goes private. Like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. Um, or I just record it live and then I just put it on private, but then no one can watch it afterwards. Because we just have chat in that live. When I'm doing a video or this kind of recording, then there's definitely something more to provide in terms of substance. But most of those lives are reactionary, and there's chat, and there might not be substance, but it might just be chat and me pulling faces and trying to be comedic, and not everyone will get it, and that's okay. But I would like this channel and my content to be about substance and to offer more value. So that's why I was thinking, okay, I'll just jump on and do some audios and mix it up with some videos. But I also realized that my setup has had to change due to, like, connectivity issues, etc., etc. But that's probably also kind of gotten in the way of my workflow, my creative workflow. Because as creators, especially when you're doing AV audiovisual stuff, that workflow and your work stream and how everything is set out, like your setup, is really important. And if you have it a certain way, then it's really easy for you to just sort of jump in, turn on camera, mic, and you can just flow. And I haven't had that as much. And just a heads up, it's the summer holidays, so my teenager's at home all the time, and it's really hard for me to balance everything, which is work and studying and creating content and having a business. And I have launched the business, and my new site's up, serenaso.com. All the links are provided, and it's essentially like public relations, tools, resources for small to medium sized businesses, creators, entrepreneurs. I've got a reputation management course. I've got an ebook called Don't Get Cancelled, that kind of stuff. So that's separate from this channel. There was a period of time where I was putting that kind of PR stuff on this channel and it didn't quite work. So I've separated it out now. So I've got all of this stuff going on. It's the summer holidays, and now we've got all this upheaval and civil unrest, and it's like, oh my God, it's just, it's a lot. But I hope this episode, aside from the past few minutes of my waffle, I hope this episode has provided you with some insight, and hopefully alleviate some worry, some concerns, any anxiety that you might have. Hopefully it hasn't added to it. And I'd love to hear from you, as always, in the comments. And you can do more, but at the very least, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and do jump in the comments and let me hear from you. If you'd like to do more, you can join the channel. You can also come across to Patreon. There's more ways that you can support me. You can buy me a coffee. All the links are available. I really do appreciate your time and your attention, since those are the most important and valuable assets that we all have, our attention. So I appreciate that you've given it to me for this long, nearly 30 minutes. And I will jump again. I'll jump on again. I'll jump on the mic again. Come on, Serena, get with it. But it is bedtime. So have a good evening and a good day whenever you're listening to this, if you're listening to it in the morning. And yeah, we will connect soon. Thanks again.